Hi, Tracy. It's great to see you
Hey.
today. Thank you so much for joining us for the October book club interview, Cozy Mystery book club interview. So cool
Thanks
to
so
see you
much
in
for.
person.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for having
Camera.
me. And I apologize. I've realized I'm kind of looking down, so
Well, I'm looking up because of the positioning of my camera, so
I need
that's
to do
fine.
that. Yeah, I think I've realized during this two things. One, I need to raise the level of my computer, and two, I need to put something more interesting behind me. That's a picture of Little Italy in New York's Mulberry Street, the street
Oh,
sign.
nice.
So yeah, nothing to do with my books whatsoever.
Well, look at my bookshelves. I mean, they're a complete mess. So,
At least you have books on them. I have
I
a few
do. I have books, I've
over.
got board games, I've got all sorts of crazy things, but this is actually not even my office anymore since the pandemic because my husband has been doing his
Oh,
home. So I've been sort of half time, which has turned into like three quarters of the time relegated to the kitchen table. It's not, I'm not criticizing him for this. He has an awful lot of phone calls and stuff, and I'm happy to shut the door behind and not have to hear. So
my gosh, the kitchen table though, like I would just be constantly distracted by food.
yeah, the struggle is real, but yeah, it's an open plan thing. So I'm reasonably far from the fridge, at least, but nicely near the coffee maker.
Yeah, which that actually would be nice. I have to confess though, I do bring food into my office. And in fact, I realized I have this jar of, I don't know if you've seen this. So in Italy, they have
Uh-huh.
baci perugina, like
Mm-hmm.
those little chocolates with the little thing. They make
Yes.
a spreadable version. And I just ordered a box from Italy yesterday that came.
Nice.
So yeah, it's out. So yeah, this is a very, very bad thing to keep by your desk when you're writing. I just want to say
Is that like Nutella?
it is only infinitely better. It's like they melted those individual chocolates and put them in a jar.
Oh, that sounds divine.
Outrageous. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't know that the best quote unquote Nutellas, chocolate hazelnut spread, are actually not Nutella.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But
Oh.
unfortunately, I know.
Well, we have totally skipped your proper intro. Traci Andrighetti, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, it's
Excellent.
perfect.
Good.
Like
Is
spaghetti.
perfect. Is a USA Today best-selling author of the Frankie Amato series and the Danger Cove hair salon mysteries. And she's here with us today to talk about her book of the month for the Cozy Mystery Book Club, which is Prosecco Pink. Yes,
Yes.
that's it.
Have
I
a copy.
almost said Pink Prosecco
We'll do
because I
it.
have drunk
Well,
Pink Prosecco.
because yes, it is. Yeah, pink prosecco was, part of the inspiration, obviously. I've
Excellent.
got little title thing going where I have like a wine or an Italian liqueur and a color.
Mhm.
So that was that was an obvious one. Pink for cozy mystery. You've got to do it. Got to do it.
Well, we can dive right into the Italian element of your work. You speak Italian, you write Italian, you read Italian, you understand Italian perfectly. I would absolutely love to know about how you learned Italian. Did you learn it from your parents or in school, college?
So yeah, my father speaks it, but didn't teach me. And I was actually born in Canada, but my mother is American, so I grew up in Texas. And in fact, I'm in Austin, Texas right now. And so my dad would say like the odd word, but when we would go visit family in Toronto, um, I have so many Italian Canadian relatives that it's outrageous, literally hundreds. And a lot of them are in touch with family in Italy. I'm not, but I know where they are and who they are. And yeah, I would hear Italian spoken. And as I got older, I kind of got mad that I had been excluded from that. And my cousin and I, when we were 12 and 13, respectively, one Christmas in Toronto, we vowed that we would learn the language fluently so that when they talked about our Christmas presents in front of us, we would know what they were saying. Um,
Excellent.
so I studied it, I would say mostly in college. But I've studied it ever since. And then, hilariously ended up teaching it at the University of Texas for 11 years.
Wow.
And I've translated from Italian as well. I've translated books for Italy's oldest publisher, Giunti Editore. And
Okay.
I've done a lot of really, really fun stuff with Italian.
Have you ever translated a cozy mystery by any chance from Italian into
Yeah,
English?
I started one, and then the publisher lost interest in the project because she recognized that it wasn't, I think when she saw the difference between what was considered a cozy in Italy versus a cozy for the English market, she didn't think it would work. She just didn't think it was
Okay.
appropriate. And so
Yeah.
the question was, were we going to actually sort of rewrite parts of that
Mhm.
book to make it fit, or were we just going to stop the project? And I did not feel comfortable rewriting somebody else's book.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
thought that was not the right thing to do. So I said that I was uncomfortable proceeding, and that's where we left it.
Okay. And have any of your books been translated into Italian yet?
I have not done that. And I kind of, a lot of people, I don't know if you've heard of Donna Leone, and she's
Yes.
written
Yeah. Yeah.
30 something
Mhm.
Commissario Brunetti mysteries in Venice. She refuses to allow them to be translated into Italian. And I kind of feel the same. I don't know what her reasoning actually is, but for me, um, because I have translated, I know actually how many of the jokes I have written into these books would be lost. And I mean,
Yeah.
lost.
Mhm.
Also, things like Frankie's Nonna, who speaks basically, I would say, like, I don't know if anybody remembers Father Guido Sarducci, Italian from Saturday Night Live. I actually knew an old Italian American woman in her 90s who spoke just like Father Guido Sarducci.
Okay.
And she was my friend's Aunt Josie, we called her, and she was her great aunt. And her Italian was literally like his. And so she was the inspiration for me to sort of write out the language that way, which a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. But that is gone, right? Because she's
Yeah.
just a Nona.
Yeah.
And so it's not that there's anything I would mind Italians seeing.
Mhm.
It's that most of what make the books me and mine, it would just literally be no more.
Yeah. Literally lost in translation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm sort of a weird author because there's a point, there's places like I will not go to make money. I mean, we all want to sell our books, obviously,
Yeah.
that's the goal. But there's, for me, I've had to sort of make decisions about, like, do I really want sort of the essence of the books to be lost? Would people even enjoy them at that
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
And so that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe, but yeah, I have Italian friends, like in Rome in particular, and Bologna, that are, even Milan, that are like, when are you gonna have them translated? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. I get this
Maybe
as
a different
well because I live in Switzerland and my husband is Swiss and I speak German. And lots of people ask me, oh, when are you going to get them translated into German? And it is something that I've gone back and forth with, particularly for the cozies, because I think there's a real market in the German speaking countries for those.
Absolutely.
But I haven't yet committed to it. Again, part of it is definitely because I know that an awful lot of the jokes that I make that are quintessentially Irish jokes and my Irish set mysteries will just get lost in translation.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. Like if the I guess I feel like, I write these sort of I just consider them comedy mysteries. In some ways, I don't think Frankie is completely cozy. But if the point is the comedy and the comedy is lost,
Yeah.
then it becomes like, okay, well, how much of the comedy would be lost? Well, if it's a lot of it, then, I'm like, would the speaker of whatever language think, like, she's really not that funny? Like, I don't know. I don't know who she thinks she's kidding. Would they be disappointed with the product? And that is another, element of concern with the
Yeah.
translation.
The humor is hard to translate. That's
Yes.
very true.
Yes.
Particularly when it's very much rooted in play on words and, cultural references and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm big on wordplay in the books. I love that. And anybody who has tried to learn a foreign language as an adult knows that one of the hardest things to do is actually not really to learn the language, but to make a joke in the language and have
Yes.
people, have people around, native speakers get it and enjoy it and, participate in the joke with you. That's very difficult. So yeah, that if the comedy is lost on the reader, then, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yes. So when did you start writing cozies? Had you written fiction before you moved to cozies, or were cozy mysteries your first?
No. So I didn't even start until 2013. And what I came about it, I think probably the weirdest way of any author I've ever heard of. I was doing a PhD in foreign language education, obviously specializing in Italian, when I realized I really like to write. I finished it, did not want to stay in academia for a number of very boring reasons. And about a year and a half after I was out of it, I was like, I really miss writing something, because I tried very hard to make even my academic stuff sort of entertaining.
Yeah.
Which is a novel concept. And so one of my Italian students actually said to me, she invited me to lunch, one of my ex-students, which I thought was so sweet. And she said, I told her I'm missing a big project, like my dissertation, which is incredible. Who says that? And she said, yeah, but I don't think you want to do that anymore. And I was like, no, I really don't. And she said, why don't you try writing, a book? She was like, you were always funny in class, like try writing a book. So I signed up for an online class out of New York with a company called Media Bistro.
Okay.
And the author, Kristen Harmel, who is now a New York Times bestseller, was teaching a class called Intro to Chick Lit. And I was like, hey, do you mind if I kind of make it a chick lit sort of mystery? And she was like, not at all. So really that's how the series was born. And then getting it published, it was originally published, the first one, Limoncello Yellow, with Gemma Halliday. And I entered a contest and she offered me a 2-book contract, and Prosecco Pink was actually the second book in that contract. So that's how those 2 books came to be.
Okay.
Now that I look at them, sometimes I think they came to be too quickly. I like to think I've learned a lot about writing since I wrote them. I'll let the readers be the judge of that, but I had a lot of fun writing those books.
Yeah,
in particular was fun.
I understand with I know when I look back at my first books were romance. When I look back at the very first ones, I sometimes go, oh, but people enjoy them and people are still enjoying them. So yeah, I think it's fun to see that I wrote the best book that I could at the time. And I think that's all any of us can say for any book that we write the end on.
Yes. And you would hope to, if you're a fan of an author, you would hope to see the books get better rather than worse. So from that perspective too, I don't have any regrets. That actually, I think in some ways has worked to my advantage.
Yeah, I love watching an author grow when I'm enjoying a series and the books grow stronger. And yeah, that's always very exciting to see.
It's so disappointing when you're reading a series, and this happened to me with an Italian series that nobody would recognize, but I saw them get sort of weaker and weaker and more formulaic and sort of just churned out, and I was just it's disappointing. That's disappointing. I still read them, but I longed for the sort of creativity of the first one. So yeah.
Do you read a lot of cozies in your spare time, or do you watch cozy mystery TV series for inspiration?
So unfortunately, I don't. One thing people don't know about me is that I actually have a crime job in real life.
Okay.
It is insane. When I tell people what I do, people are just like, "You are kidding me." I'll try to be vague about it. You've heard of the companies that I've worked for, but I often don't mention them for a variety of reasons. But like I actually, for one job, right here in Austin, Texas, I was the sole person handling Italian police requests for information to help solve crimes from Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And the second one, the one that I'm currently doing, which I just started a month ago, I'm in charge of keeping prohibited items off the internet. So might be human remains, it could be terrorist related things, it could be trafficked art and
Yeah.
antiquity. So like right now we're currently very worried about Afghanistan and the art that might be illegally trafficked out of there. So it could be any number of things, but yeah, I literally have a job busting people just from my desk.
Mhm. And that gives you plenty of inspiration for your books, I
It's
can imagine.
super fun. Actually it hasn't, like, and that's so I was recruited for these jobs because I know Italian and
Mhm.
on LinkedIn. So I was
Yeah.
contacted. In Texas, people are really, there's just not a lot of Italian speakers running around.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I was contacted on LinkedIn, and in both cases I kind of couldn't resist because I realized they were crime related.
Mhm.
And then just was amazed at how much I liked them. So because I'm doing that job, I have very little time to read cozies or write. And
Yeah.
then my situation is further complicated by the fact that I read in Italian as well. And I'm addicted. I also watch TV in Italian, and I'm the biggest addict when it comes to certain authors and certain television series. So I have little time, and my time is completely divided between this English speaking world and an Italian world. So yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, obviously you're dealing with serious stuff when you're doing your job, your crime related job, but I mean, it sounds fascinating.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's just so crazy to think that this woman from Austin, Texas, am doing, that I do this, that I have helped police, prosecutors, judges, to solve crimes. I mean, I literally have worked mafia murders and things like
Wow.
that. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And I accepted it both times because I thought, okay, I could actually really do something, worthwhile with my time. But also I was intrigued by the prospect of what could I do with this as a book series. But the hilarious thing is that I keep telling other authors, like, if you want to write about my job, you should, because I don't know if I ever will.
Okay.
I have other series sort of speaking to me if I could just freaking figure them out. And so I feel very torn in a lot
Mhm.
of directions.
So at the moment, you're writing the Frankie Amato series, and you also have the hair salon mysteries in Danger Cove. Have
The
they
hair
finished?
the hair salon series is done. That's
Mhm.
something I did for Gemma Halliday, and it was one of those series within a series where a bunch of different authors picked a business in a fictitious town. The series is very cute. It's very fun. However, the one thing that I realized about myself, and I'm sure you would understand this very well based on the books you've written, I've realized that I really need my setting to not be a fictitious town. I
Yeah.
absolutely love traveling when I can, and seeing other cities, and I'm completely fascinated. I mean, New Orleans in particular, people love it, people hate it, but it's undeniable that it has so many amazing aspects for writing a mystery beyond the voodoo. And that's
Okay.
something that I've tried to show in every book that I have written in the Frankie series. So Danger Cove, while it was fun and I loved some of the characters, I constantly felt limited by the fake town. And, you know,
Okay.
and I would try to
Yeah.
make something up, like something interesting about the town. And then I had to get a bunch of authors to approve that. And, you know, it just, that's, I think, ultimately why that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I do think I will eventually write a series set in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's kind of tricky too. I think because I speak Italian, because I know I have Italian friends, it's like, oh wait, I'm an American ultimately. How do I want to portray Italy? And I have some, you know, personal concerns about that, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
going back to Donna Leone, I sometimes wonder if that's one of the reasons that she doesn't want them translated into Italian, just for, you know, out of concern about how it might look to have, you know, an outsider, even though she lived there for quite a long time,
Yeah.
how it might look to have an outsider, you know, writing about their country.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
tricky,
get
but I
that.
do love the reals. I need a real city. I need a real live breathing city with like its quirks and, you know, and ultimately that is, you know, when I was in grad school, there was actually a woman from Hungary who taught a class on mystery novels. I wish I could have taken it, but I couldn't. But the main point of her class, and of course of mysteries in general, is that they're really sort of studies of society. And
Yes.
so if the society isn't real, I feel I struggle with how to represent it.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I get that.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is your latest Knifed in Nice? Is that
That's
the
right. Yeah, exactly. It's set
that's
in.
so I have I am lucky enough to have actually been to Nice. And
Same.
it's fabulous. And so I saw that title and I was like, oh my God, I have to read that one because I've been there. And in a way that makes it more fun. And I don't know about you, but I actually get asked by readers to give them an itinerary
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, the places Frankie has gone in a certain
Yep.
book or in the series, or, you know, they just say like, I'm going, what would you recommend that I do in this amount of time? And that's fun too. It's a neat way to connect with readers apart from just talking about the plot of my book. Um,
Exactly.
so
Like Frankie's New Orleans, you can put stuff in
yeah,
and give them a little
yeah.
tour of where she's gone in such and such a book. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, pre-pandemic, I was getting the occasional request to like, hey, you know, would you ever let readers sort of tag along with you while you're there? And I absolutely would. I'm a total extrovert. The more the
Mhm.
merrier. But then the pandemic happened. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
indefinitely on hold.
Well, it's no coincidence that I started writing my travel PI series during the pandemic because I was really, really, really wanting to travel and I couldn't.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
My
had
current
the idea before that, but lockdowns and not being able to travel really inspired
Yeah,
me to get started.
yeah, it really, you know, and I know a lot of people of course like can't go to Europe or whatever, and maybe they read about it in books or whatever, but I even like just driving to the next little town over from Austin. I mean, I just like being somewhere different. And
Mm-hmm.
I have felt really, really restricted by that as well. And so, yeah, it's interesting. So there's six Frankie books that are in New Orleans. And then for book 7, which hopefully will be out in November, but I'm pushing it. That I think the pandemic is the reason that I was like, you know what, I'm going to put that one in Venice just
I can't
because
wait.
I haven't been able to go to Italy for a while. And
Mhm.
Venice has a lot of really creepy legends that nobody talks about, strangely. So I thought, okay, this is my chance to kind of use those.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's a fun book, I hope.
What's
But
the
yeah, there's
title?
definitely, it's so weird that, as popular as Italy is, and people love Venice, but they tend to look at it as a romantic city, I
Hmm.
think, which it has such a dark,
Yeah.
dark history. It really does. And the legends are all dark and creepy and not romantic at all. Um, so yeah, I'll be interested to see people's reaction to this. Prosecco, on the other hand, that one, I had been to Oak, so it's inspired by Oak Alley Plantation, which is outside of New Orleans.
Hmm.
It has these fabulous oak trees that line the walkway all the way to the Mississippi River, because it's literally on the river. And if you look it up, everyone from Betty Davis to Beyonce has filmed a movie or a video there. Parts of
Okay.
Interview, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise filmed parts of Interview with a Vampire there. I mean, this place is famous. And it's creepy. And, plantations are just, for me, historically, they're very sad, tragic, unhappy places to begin with. And so to me, it's very fitting in a way to put a mystery there. I struggled with making a plantation mystery a comedy, but I'll leave it to the readers to determine whether I succeeded in a way that's not offensive to anyone. But
I
I
think you
had
did.
I had been there so many times because my dad took me as a kid, and then I went there. I think my family went back, and then I had a bunch of friends come from Italy, and they were like, "Can we see a plantation home?" And they're from Rome,
Mhm.
and in Italy they have read stories about plantations. It's not, there's nothing remotely similar, of course, in Italy, and so they wanted to see it. And as I was standing there watching them experience it for the first time, was actually when I realized, like, I have to set a mystery here.
Yeah. It's such an amazing setting, I think, for a mystery, because as you said, you've got that creepy historical thing going on, and they're big, so you've got that vast, that sense of
Yes. Yeah, and I
enormous.
have to give Oak Alley something of a shout out, because I think so in the South there has been a movement, slow to gain momentum, but it's growing, to take plantations and show life from the perspective of the slaves who lived
Mhm.
there, rather than sort of glorifying the plantation owners and the house. And so Oak Alley has done an amazing job of reconstructing slave quarters, and putting artifacts in them, and telling the stories of the people who lived there and what they went through. So it is for people who feel bad about going to a plantation, I think it's that one is actually a really good one to go to, because they have worked very hard to flip the narrative.
Okay,
Uh,
that sounds fascinating.
yeah, yeah. In fact, one of the slaves, I think, is really he went by the name Antoine. And he actually created, I say pecan, a lot of people in the South say pecan, which I'm not a
Mhm.
fan of that pronunciation. But he created a pecan with the shell was so thin, he bred it to where you could crack it just in your hand, between your
Wow.
fingers. So yeah, there's a lot of great stories at that plantation. But again, Betty Davis filmed a movie there.
Which
Beyonce
one
did.
was it that she was it the
I
the
don't
one where she's the
think
Southern Belle?
okay, wait, I'm gonna pull it up right now. And by the way, like I mentioned, Interview with a Vampire, Beyonce video,
Mhm.
etc. There's like a filmed here on Oak Alley Plantation website. And for Betty
Oh,
Davis, it was Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
And then there's just a whole list, like Days of Our Lives was filmed there. There's like it's fascinating if you go to their site and read about like who all was there.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's an
speaking
interesting
about
place.
fun, because I know that I have this on my list that I absolutely have to ask you about, because I know that you have the most fabulous wig collection.
I have some of them here.
Do
Here you go.
you? Oh, yay.
Yeah, I'll actually put them in front of my face. People are like, why do you have those? So if you've never been to New Orleans, you absolutely have to look up Fifi Mahoney's on Instagram or Facebook, and the stream of photos and videos of wigs they create is like nothing you've ever seen before. Nothing. And so this is a Mardi Gras thing. So it looks like a bunch of sort of drag queen wigs, I guess, but people in New Orleans wear these for Mardi Gras. They wear them on floats. And I have been lucky enough to be on a couple of Mardi Gras crews. And so these wigs are only one of the wig, and this one's not exciting, but it's kind of what started it. You can see it's sort of got, the color is really red.
Yep.
You can see it's sort of got this like bouffant kind of tease thing. I ended up, this was for my first Mardi Gras crew, and I ended up reusing it when I went to the B-52s concert. And I had this like crazy crystal pink and red lobster necklace, and kind of did a rock lobster theme. And people were photographing me. They thought I was part of the band. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
No. And then a guy actually asked me to be a lead singer in a band with him. And he was like, would you always dress like that? And I went, no. And then I said, you can hear by the way I talk, my nasally voice, that I can't sing either. And he goes, I don't care. He was like, that look is priceless. So then the next time, there's a crew of Babylon, which is a men's crew, but they do a Western walk with their wives and friends and family. And I am not, even though I live in Texas, I'm not into guns at all. I don't like Western wear. I'm a total misfit here in that respect. But as an Italian American, I do love me a good spaghetti Western movie. So I created a spaghetti Western wig. So here's the back. Here's the back. Okay, so the front, you can see there's a knife and a fork on a checkered, napkin, and you see the crossed guns.
Yes.
Right above the head. Can you see that? And do you see the spaghetti with the meatballs?
Yes.
So this was for the Western walk. I was like, the only way I'm doing Western is to do spaghetti Western. And Fifi Mahoney's was, okay, so this was flattering. So Fifi Mahoney's gets every kind of wig request you can ever think of and more. And I was so excited because they were excited to do this. They said, we've never in our history had anyone ask for a spaghetti Western wig. And they were like, we think that's genius. I was like, thank you. So that's that one. And then this one didn't get to be worn because of the whole pandemic situation, but it was supposed to be like the American Revolution, like a voodoo revolutionary character. I think she kind of looks like a voodoo saloon girl. So the wig is called the Antoinette, so as in Marie. So I think I'm going to repurpose it as a sort of a voodoo Marie Antoinette, but here's what it has. So this is a love potion, because they actually do sell potions at voodoo stores in New Orleans. Okay. They put a flower on it, but there's a voodoo doll. Can you see the voodoo doll? That purple guy. Here's his gold face, his teeth. And then I was super happy because they put one detail on it that I really love. Let's see if I can. They put two. They made sure to put Prosecco corks. So this cork literally says Prosecco, and this one says sparkling Italian. And they wanted me to know, since I'm a regular customer, that they did that on purpose for me. But yeah, I think she'll be voodoo Marie Antoinette. I'm considering a costume for next Mardi Gras, but who knows, I might actually do another wig. And again, if you are just bored and you find yourself surfing the internet, you have to look up Fifi Mahoney's wigs, because the original one I saw, you guys, which I wanted them to do it for me, but they just did it for a magazine. So imagine this big kind of bouffant head, and it had a board right here. So like a table, and it had like a tablecloth. So right here. And on it was a Corona beer, a bunch of plastic crawdads, and a lemon cut in half. And I was like, that is because, you know, crawdad boils are a huge thing. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. And that actually is what inspired the spaghetti Western after they wouldn't do that one for me because they said it was too heavy to wear.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it just anything you can imagine. Their Christmas wigs. I mean, that alone, you could just waste hours and hours looking at the wigs. If any of you go there and you and Zara, you too, if you go and you look at it and you see one you like, put it in the Facebook group for the Cozy Mystery Book Club, because I would absolutely love to see which one sort of struck you. There's one where the woman has this big like curling sweep on her hair and there's a freaking plastic surfer in it riding the wave. It is just, they're so imaginative. And again, in New Orleans, you can wear this even not during Mardi Gras and no one will even look at you twice. They might say they love your wig, but they're not going to be like, what are you doing? I could never wear this in Austin. Like it would have to be a really fun party or a Halloween party or something. But yeah, in New Orleans, no one's even going to look at you twice.
I will definitely look them up. That sounds like a site to visit.
Yes.
And for readers who want to keep in touch with you and look you up online, where can they find you?
Okay, well, don't go to Instagram, because even though I have a page, I have been super lazy about starting that. My website is traciandrighetti.com. And yes, I know it's hard to spell. But also on Facebook. Those are the two places. I have an author page that's just Traci Andrighetti, I believe. I don't know if it says Traci Andrighetti author, it might. But yeah, I definitely look me up there. You can probably tell from this interview that I like to chat. So feel free to contact me. Tell me about wigs you like, wigs you wish you could have, books, whatever you want to talk about. I also will talk to you extensively about Nutella and limoncello. They're two of my favorite things.
Well, thank you so much for doing the interview with us today. We look forward to seeing more of you in the group. And yeah, I hope everybody enjoys this interview.
You will. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.